Hey, Plus SideZ community, before we jump into the podcast, do me a favor, like, subscribe, and share if you haven't already. This helps us get referred up in the algorithm so we can find more people that need our help and guidance from our doctors. Thanks so much for supporting the show. Let's jump in. If you're like most of us, you've been denied a GLP-1 at least once. But did you know that less than 1% of denied claims are ever even appealed, even though the data suggests that over 60% of appeals are often approved? That means that people who should be paying $25 a month are instead paying thousands of dollars a year out of pocket, not necessarily because appeals don't work, but because the process is confusing and time-consuming. But that's where Honest Care comes in. You go to their site, and then you just start with a quick assessment. And then Honest Care will build your appeal with the clinical and medical arguments that your insurer needs to hear, and then guide you through submitting it. If you've been denied, don't stop there because most appeals must be filed within 90 days. So don't wait. Go to findhonestcare.com/Kim to get your free assessment today. That's findhonestcare.com/Kim.
Want the fastest working GLP-1? For half the price, Ro now offers FDA-approved weight loss injections cheaper. With results you can see faster. Lose 15% of your weight with the formula from Eli Lilly that hits not one, but 2 hormones to curb hunger and nausea. Weight loss faster. Confidence higher. Price cheaper. See if you qualify at ro.co/TV.
Are you interested in understanding GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, wegovy, or Mounjaro? Then join us on the Plus SideZ Cracking the Obesity Code, the groundbreaking podcast helping people change their lives one episode at a time. The Plus SideZ Podcast is a disruptor. We're breaking down barriers, smashing stereotypes, and sharing inspiring stories that'll leave you feeling informed and empowered. Join us every week to learn from doctors who are specialists around GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, wegovy, and Mounjaro. They'll provide you with science and facts to validate these incredible stories. But that's not all. We'll also bring you the voices of the GLP-1 Mounjaro TikTok community, real people who face the challenges of obesity-related diseases and disorders and discovered the incredible plus sides of GLP-1 medications. Our episodes are filled with heartwarming stories, laughter, and moments of triumph. You'll connect with our amazing community members who are reclaiming their health and experiencing their fullest lives. Are you ready to embark on a journey of discovery and empowerment? Tune in to the Plus SideZ Cracking the Obesity Code, and together we'll change the narrative around obesity and end the stigma. Subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform and join our incredible community. Let's celebrate the plus sides of life together because every story deserves to be heard. Every life deserves to shine, and everyone deserves access to expert knowledge and medication. The Plus SideZ Podcast. You're not alone. It's not your fault. Welcome to the Plus SideZ Podcast. Hey, Kat.
Welcome to my dark, mysterious dungeon.
Dark, mysterious dungeon. You can't see a listening audience, but Kat, boy, I sound very like Elvira there.
Do it. No, yes. No, you are doing the Quiet Storm where we're playing nothing but love songs. She says Delilah. I say Quiet Storm because I was an R&B child. Kim was a top 40 child.
Top 40. Although
I grew up listening to Prince and Rick James.
Also, my favorite, everybody's like, oh, what was your first concert? My first concert was the ultimate oldies concert because I am a straight nerd and I liked oldies. It was like my favorite. And that was my first concert. It was like Paul Revere and the Raiders, and like they were all like old and everything. I don't care. I loved it. It was fantastic. The music is fantastic. I don't care what you say.
You want to know what my first concert was?
What was it? Was
I'm not. No, it was not. I did not see Prince until I was 21. It was MC Hammer.
Oh, I love MC Hammer. What's wrong with that? Hallelujah.
You kind of well, yeah, yeah. I saw MC Hammer in Oaktown 357.
Is that bad? Is he bad?
You what?
I don't.
Well, I mean, it's like MC Hammer.
What's wrong with it? It's cool. Hammer picks.
Yeah.
No time. Okay.
We're gonna turn this. Anyway, so yes, that is our diversions.
Very important things today. Actually, we're going to talk a lot about PCOS today and GLP-1s. So
and the new name.
Yeah. We're going to do our very best. We're just now kind of getting back into it. I've been out for quite quite a while with my family loss. And so just trying to get back into it. But Kat may be leading us a lot because I am the squirreliest squirrel right now. And so
Right.
he's fine.
I'm in a dark corner because my computer, the camera adjusts.
Yeah.
So it'll be light and then it comes right in and it says, "Hey, face."
It must be like a new like update or something because
I think it was. It didn't used to be like this. So
we need to get your husband to look at it one more.
I was gonna say, my geek squad is taking a nap in the other room. So
yeah, and I don't not mind when he's sleeping either. It's like when you're married or you have kids and they're napping. That's my mom.
That's hilarious.
You're gonna live for that nap. She was right. Anyway, speaking of females and reproductive things, let's talk about PCOS and GLP-1s and learn all about it because there have been some changes going on in this here
Very
situation.
recent changes. Yep.
Yes. But that's all. Oh, I should probably tell you who I forgot your intro. See, I told you guys.
Who are you, Kim?
My name's Kim. This is the Plus SideZ Podcast, and we are a multi-award-winning podcast. I'm telling you this because it's reputable, and I know you have a lot of places you can go. We're also ranked in the top 1% of all podcasts in the world.
In the world.
Kat always goes, in the world. And we talk about metabolic disease, and we have on researchers and scientists and doctors and experts and dietitians and all these different people so that you can learn everything you can about your body and your health when you have metabolic disease, because it's just different, y'all. It's just different. Okay.
And you're equipped with the data.
Yeah. And you just deserve to know, and I've struggled with obesity the majority of my life. I have lost a bazillion pounds over and over and over again. I am now 46, 47 this year, and getting closer to the pause. And so we're going through all the changes, and we talk about that here too. Kat and I've been on GLP-1 for almost 4 years. And I lost 110 pounds and I've gained back 20, and I'm on it. Because menopause and because metabolic disease and because what do we call it? Metabolic adaptation. Learn about it, and grief. Jeez.
It's not a matter.
Well, here's what's crazy. I'm just gonna be straight up honest. I have not been overeating, but I'm gaining weight. It's the weirdest thing. I'm not. And my body's just doing that thing. It's like anything I do eat, store it. It's crazy.
Well, I'm Kat. We are what we would consider the OGs of the GLP community. We are the OGs. I have been on the MJs, the Mounjaro, like a good Midwestern accent, the Mounjaro, the whole time since 2022. So it has been about 4 years. I am not somebody who counts the days, the weeks, and I never have ever done any of that. In fact, I estimate I lost about 70, 65, blah, blah, blah. But the days on program, the days on Mounjaro, because there are people, if you cruise through TikTok and Instagram, this is my second week. This is my 52nd week. This is my 300th week.
First week. And I'm like, wow.
Absolutely not.
Me either.
Absolutely not. No.
It started July 4th. this July. It'll be July.
I think it was a Labor Day weekend. That's all I remember. So maybe I'm not going to do that now. But yeah, so finally I got to 100 pounds, but I teeter, I creep. And it's always how, even like when I lost weight, the white knuckled way.
Yeah.
Down and up, down and up, down, up, 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 down, up. Yeah. So right now I am working with a few pounds on top, but you don't see the text that there are between Kim and I, but I don't give a you know what. I don't.
Anyway,
I try to, and some days when I catch myself carrying, I was like, you need So, but yeah, it's definitely it's a crazy journey. But it's exciting to watch people when they get on it.
Oh, and I have to tell you real quick. Yeah, John and I ordered. And we're going to strength train.
That's amazing.
I know. It's a step forward.
Amazing. Amazing.
That's always telling me get stronger. Yay.
Well, muscle. Yeah. I mean, I'm a cardio bunny, but I still do muscle. I still do weights. Oh yeah. I've always lifted, always done fitness when I was 320 and down to, 220, 21, 23, 24. That's what I'm playing with right now.
I get it. Dang. I'm jealous.
And that's it.
All right, let's talk about why this sucks and what we can do about it, if anything. What do you say?
And there's a lot of people in the community that, that are dealing with PCOS. So this is a listen up.
Yes. All right.
Listen up.
Let's get in.
We got derailed. MC Hammer and Paul Revere.
Paul Revere and the Raiders. Don't forget the Raiders.
Mm-hmm. And then Dr. Melanie Cree was Violet Femme was your first concert?
Violet Femme.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I think I floated on the crowd, you know.
Oh, stop. The crowd surfed?
That is amazing.
I was too big to crowd surf. I was too big to do any of that kind of stuff.
I get that.
Well, whatever.
That's our problem.
Listen, whatever. There are plenty of small people that don't have a lot of things that I have, so I'm just going to focus on those. Okay?
There you go. Perfect. Well, I would not crowd surf now. So
I get it. I agree. Who would? I'd probably break a hip at this point, you know?
Exactly. We are exactly the same age, Kim. Yeah. So
Kelly, I'm like, I'm going down. Something's cracking, you know?
Yes, exactly.
Well, I'm about to be, I'm Sally O'Malley, if you ever watched that skit.
Sally O'Malley.
I'm hitting 50 this year. I'm Sally O'Malley.
Oh my gosh. I expected an amazing video. I expected him.
I'm going to do a 5K. I'm going to do a 5K the weekend of my birthday.
Awesome.
Maybe I should try it for that, Kat.
Do it for the March of Dimes.
I was thinking it's something to shoot for. And
let's do it. You don't have to run it. You can walk it.
I was just going to say,
I would run it. I wouldn't be ready for run, but I could probably walk it with a little jog. We'll see anyway. This is going to be too fast. 9 minutes in. Sorry, guys. We love you. I'll try to edit this out. I'm sorry.
No, and you know what, listeners, if you're listening to us, let us know in the comments. What was your first concert? Let's engage.
Yes. Look at you, Kat. Atta girl. See?
Let's engage. Let me know. I want to see all your first concert.
Okay. So, Dr. Melanie Cree, I was lucky enough to meet you in front of the Downsize booth at Obesity Week. And you were like, hey, I heard you got this podcast. I was like, yes, I do. And you were like, hey, I want to come on. And I was like, that sounds great. And you were like, I'm not here to talk about PCOS. You were like, and I'm a childhood obesity expert. And this is what I talk about. And they're doing trials around this. And you should know about it. And I was like, you're daggum right. I should. I can't even tell you how many PCOS listeners I have. So I'm so excited to have you here. We've got a set of questions, but it's meant to be very like conversational roundtable. Yeah. And we're so glad to have you. But it would be wonderful if you could just tell people a little bit about who you are and how you help people.
Yeah, for sure. So yes, my name is Dr. Melanie Cree, and I'm a pediatric endocrinologist. So I take care of teenagers, and we stay till about 2021. I say, you don't need a new doctor right when you graduate from high school and are making big life changes. And I specialize in conditions related to excess weight, so PCOS and type 2 diabetes. And if you want to talk about OG for GLP-1s, I've been using them since 2011 when I first started prescribing them.
Jeez. So, was it, what, Victoza? Was it Victoza you were prescribed?
Bydureon before it was Byetta.
Whoa, Byetta. Wow. Yeah. That really is. That's a twice a day one, right?
Yep.
Dang. What is it like to see science right now? Being someone that was
it's phenomenal.
Literally like, are you freaking out? I would be like, if I had been prescribing this is where they are now and where they're going, I'd be like, oh, crazy.
Yeah. It has been an amazing journey for sure. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So that's my clinical practice, and I'm very passionate about women's health. I went to an all women's college, and from the very beginning, I went to Bryn Mawr College in Philadelphia. And I've always focused on women's health. I'll admit I wanted to be a gynecologist, but I decided they worked too hard.
Do they work hard? I don't know. I feel like they all work hard.
Well, that's what I realized is I don't do quite as much overnight call, but I still work.
See, I figured you were going to be like, I would be really literal. Like, I don't want my head in the vagina every day. I got
I cannot leave that in.
Yeah, no, these are if you made me look at, I would freak out. I cannot do teeth, broken mouths. No, I can look at crotches. The thing that I do, so I only take care of patients 15% of the time. And I also have a PhD, so a research degree in learning how insulin works. And insulin is a huge part of PCOS.
Yes.
So that kind of research I've done for over 20 years. So it's been really fun to bring these different research techniques that we use in people with type 2 diabetes and bring them into the PCOS space. And so that's really what my research program focuses on. And first we were trying to figure out how does it work in teenagers, and now we're figuring out how to try to treat it in teenagers.
Wow.
So,
You gave us a great segue.
Yeah.
PCOS changed to PMOS and insulin resistance. Let's give us all the things. What is PCOS, which is now PMOS? I'm gonna let you describe the acronym. What is it at its core, and let's nerd on everything.
Yeah. So in terms of the diagnostic criteria, it is irregular periods, so not every month, and too high of testosterone, so our male hormone. So in teenagers, you have to have abnormal periods. And in teenagers, that's less than 21 days or greater than 45 days between cycles. And then clinical or lab-based high androgens. And that means primarily testosterone. Clinical-based high androgens, this is what I think gets all women. Growing a beard, and we're not talking about the 5 postmenopausal hairs. We are talking, I've got patients with full beards that shave every day, and growing hair on the chest, and all the way down on the stomach. Also really severe acne in our teenagers, and then just acne in older women. Some of the times we see people starting to go bald, just like men do. So it's called androgenic, that is male hormone balding. So those are the clinical signs.
Are they male hormones? Is that what androgens?
Well, everybody has the same hormones, right? So women primarily should have more estrogen and a little bit of testosterone. And then men have a lot of testosterone and a little bit of estrogen.
Yeah.
But what happens in this condition is the testosterone is a little bit high. It's nowhere near men's high. So men are around 500.
Okay.
Women without PCOS, PMOS are typically under 45. And most women with PCOS, PMOS sit between 45 and 100.
Okay.
So, yeah. And then in adult women, we also look at the ovaries, and we see, are their ovaries big? And are they filled with eggs that are starting to mature? There are no cysts in polycystic ovary syndrome.
Interesting.
They're called follicles.
Yes.
Yeah. And that is part of why we went to the name change. But in order to be diagnosed, teenagers, you have to have the irregular periods or the high androgens, either in your skin or by blood work. And in adult women, or 8 years past your first period, you have to have 2 of the 3. And that can include then the ovary findings. So that's how we made the diagnosis.
Yeah.
And that's why the name was originally polycystic ovary syndrome. And now it's different. Polyendocrine Metabolic Ovarian Syndrome.
Wow. That's beautiful. Right. Well, I mean, I get that though. I mean, like, I would say like the biggest thing I had were the actual cysts, and they were very painful. And especially when they burst and stuff. But my cycles were short. So they were like, and so nobody did anything. And then I had a really hard time. I miscarried twice. And when we would go, they would be like, it's fine, you just need to lose weight. And I'd be like, okay, like they're like, you just need to lose weight, and you'll be fine, And then oddly, sorry, weird squirrel story. Sorry, grief brain. I went on, I won this trip at work after my miscarriage, and I took a break. I had to take a break. It was called for some type, I even forgot. Anyway,
you won the President's Club. We used to work together.
Yes, that's right, Kat. I went to Hawaii, and when I was there, because of the time change or something, my cycle got off. So I had like a 30-something day cycle, and I got pregnant. and I had my son. I've never been able to get pregnant since. Isn't that weird? I know.
They ever brought the word luteal phase defect up to you?
No, nobody gave a shit.
I know about luteal phase because I read the woman code.
No,
anyway.
I was just fat and needed to lose weight. That's what I got.
No, a luteal phase defect is where eggs are like eggs, like chicken eggs. So in PCOS, most women have kind of 2 to 4 eggs that start maturing.
Mm-hmm.
In PCOS, you've got anywhere from like 11 to 20. But when you ovulate, the egg that can be fertilized, and I kind of think of that as the yolk, is released.
Wow.
And that's what goes down the fallopian tube to get fertilized. What's left behind is called the corpus luteum. And that releases, no, the shell.
Oh, the shell. Okay.
The shell.
Thank you for the distinction. I would have been calling it the egg whites. Okay. The shell.
So the shell is left behind, and it's called the corpus luteum, and it secretes progesterone. And what progesterone does is it fluffs the blankets of the endometrium, the lining of your uterus, so that that fertilized egg has a nice little place to implant in. And so many women that are having shorter cycles, they ovulate and then their corpus luteum goes away too fast. And when you have a drop in progesterone, and we actually copy this to make people have a period, when you have a drop in progesterone, it makes you have a period.
Yeah.
So you could have been getting pregnant.
Yeah.
But then instead of getting to implant into the nice, fluffy bed, it's been thrown in the washing machine. So that cycle that you had in Hawaii would be representative of your corpus luteum staying intact.
Wow.
So then you had enough progesterone.
A baby.
It was a startup posturepedic is what. Perfect, right?
There you go.
Oh my God. Isn't that crazy that nobody told me that? Don't you find this? And then I had 2 miscarriages and went to a specialist and had them look at all my business and them to be like, you're fine. There was no pill. And I hated that because I was like, wait, I don't understand. There should be a thing wrong. And then you give me medicine for the thing. And they were like, no, just go listen.
No, you start taking progesterone. You watch when you ovulate. You have sex when you ovulate.
No,
assume that you've gotten pregnant, and then you take progesterone to maintain the endometrial lining. It's pretty simple.
And my gynecologist told me she said I would not qualify for fertility drugs until I lost about 40, 50 pounds.
Yeah, that's what they told me.
But it didn't happen. But everything works out just fine for a reason. But
But it's crazy that nobody tells you these things. It's if you're within kind of like a window, right, of probably okay, right, and you're overweight, that's what they're going to say every time. And it's not that I deny that losing weight doesn't help. It
does help, right? It does help.
All those things. But why am I still overweight? Right? That was the question that nobody was like, and I think it's probably for reasons that we all know, right, that I don't think people really understood it, right? Metabolic disease until the past, 10, 15 years in terms of
I think it's also this really extreme body size bias, in particular from the health professions. But, I have to tell you, that's been really up for discussion in the United States. I would say at least for the last 15 years, really, and treating people for who they are and what conditions and symptoms they're presenting with, not just looking at their body size and dismissing them. And I have to tell you that they just approved Semaglutide for use in teenagers in Australia. And it was approved. It was approved in August. And I went over there in September to teach their adolescent doctors how to use these medications in teenagers. And everything, the body size bias was overwhelming. And, you vaguely remember, and I'm sure you guys have experienced more, so you'll remember more. But, I remember when this was, we really started talking about it and thinking about it and evaluating people for who they are and their symptoms.
Yeah.
And I would say we still have a long way to go in the United States.
Yeah.
But I was blown away.
Yeah.
These teenagers, they just need to exercise more and stop going out to eat with their friends. They don't need a weight loss medication. They shouldn't have to do this. Why are we putting our children on medications? And I'm like, well, because they're getting type 2 diabetes. And when you get type 2 diabetes as a teenager, type 2 diabetes in teenagers is really aggressive. They're starting to lose kidneys and have heart attacks and strokes at the age of 30.
Oh my God.
But we're not going to put them on, we're not going to treat their extra weight.
And now everything I've ever thought is out the door now that I know that. It's crazy. I mean, I always was like, we should really consider it, but now I'm like, do it. That's insane. So it's really aggressive. It starts in adolescence?
When it starts in teenagers, it's super aggressive. And, my boss just retired, Dr. Zeitler, but he actually wrote the first case report of type 2 diabetes in kids way back in the day. And then he led this very first trial looking at, can we treat kids with type 2 diabetes like adults with type 2 diabetes? Absolutely not. And then they followed all of those, kids in that first trial all the way out. Yeah. And fatty liver disease, fatty liver disease is now the leading cause of liver transplant in women with an average age at the end of the 20s, early 30s. And you get fatty liver disease, you get MASLD, metabolic associated steatotic liver disease.
Oh my gosh.
We see that in 5-year-olds.
Have you been on our friends' podcasts yet? Have you been on Downside? Okay.
No, you're the first. I talked to many people about obesity, and you're the first ones. You guys are the first one to follow me up on my comment.
I know everybody. We win the prize. Time to cycle around. We're gonna get you with our friend Dave on the pen. We'll get you with Downsize if you haven't got with them yet. And we have some of the friends too, but those are like the two like real big ones.
And Mike and Zach.
Yeah, and Mike.
Oh, for sure.
Mike's on Dave's show.
Yeah.
Well, we could do both. Yeah.
No, Mike and Zach have something.
They're on Dave's.
They
do. They have their own show on Dave's show. Yeah.
For Downsize, they were doing little clips there at.
Yes, they were.
I did a clip for Downsize at the meeting.
Okay, so we don't technically win, but
Well, that was pretty easy.
Christopher.
Yeah.
You hear me, Christopher?
Yeah. Christopher and Lorraine, we love you.
Yes. We love that.
So they were super funny. Yeah.
They are great.
So we've got these individual conditions happening in teenagers, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens in our teenage girls is they get this little bit of extra testosterone. Right. So we've got extra testosterone and we're a teenager. So when we go through puberty, we need to grow, right?
Yeah.
Grow taller, things like that. So where insulin works in our body, in particular our muscle cells, it comes into the same, what we call receptor. So it comes into the same place in our muscle, and it can either go to using and storing sugar, or it can turn on making protein and growth. And so what happens is our bodies are amazing. So when we go through puberty, we need to grow, and we say to these receptors, hey, when you see insulin coming up, we're not going to pay attention to sugar as much. We're going to take this and make more muscle and grow.
Wow.
And so what happens is that's called insulin resistance.
Yeah.
So the insulin comes to where it's supposed to work, but it doesn't work. So in puberty, kids are very insulin resistant.
Yeah.
So if a kid drinks that nasty sugary drink when you're pregnant, the oral glucose tolerance test. Yeah. So we did this. So we did the next study trying to see if we could prevent type 2 diabetes. Yeah. And the kids make 3 times as much insulin just because of puberty. Mm-hmm.
I gotta be weird real quick. My sister wrote this book before she passed, and she had a liver transplant. She had no obesity. She had this whole other thing. But this part of her book talks about the doctor that invented insulin, or that came up.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Right. And she talks about like how he kind of comes from like nowhere. and how he came up with this and how they were treating children with this and how when they would go and treat the children with the insulin, right, and they would just like come back to life, and what like massive, amazing discovery was and like just what that meant, like for just the future of everything. Like it really is fascinating how important it is,
Yeah, exactly. Super important. Yeah. So we've got teenagers who have high insulin. And then what happens when we struggle with weight? Then our insulin goes up as well. Our insulin doesn't work as well when we struggle with weight. And in particular, if we're struggling with weight because we're drinking liquid carbs.
Mm-hmm.
Humans aren't designed. Our bodies do not know what to do with liquid carbs. Right?
Really?
They go, no, well, think about it. Did hunters and gatherers have juice? That's regular Gatorade. That's
grams.
Yep. There you go. That's an insulin spike. So our bodies don't know what to do with liquid carbs. So what they do is they chase them with these massive amounts of insulin. But then we're struggling with weight, so our insulin doesn't work very well. So now you've got this teenager who's a teenager with extra insulin, who's struggling with weight with extra insulin. And then what can happen is in some people, not everybody obviously, but in some women and teenagers, their ovaries are a little too sensitive to insulin. And so the insulin, the way I explain it is the insulin confuses the ovary and it makes the ovary make extra testosterone. And this is, so the old name, PCOS, is focused on the ovaries and focused on testosterone. And people are told to go lose weight. And they're like, why on earth would I lose weight for an ovary condition? What is wrong with you? And this makes no sense.
But it's like a chicken and an egg thing, because if you have PCOS, you have to lose weight, but PCOS is preventing you because you have that insulin resistance. So what the hell?
So that's where it's exactly. And so that's where it needs to be much more specific. And so, those are some of the things that we're really trying to work on with our research and really with this explanation and name change as well. So the first word, poly, means many. Endocrine is hormones.
Yeah.
So we've now talked about testosterone and insulin. And I'll talk about the other hormone that plays a big role, cortisol. So we've got 3 hormones that play a big role, right?
I didn't even think about
polyendocrine. Yep. Metabolic. Well, what happens when you have testosterone and insulin? So let's think about the difference between men and women.
Okay.
Men snore more. Men have a lot more men have more diabetes. Men have a lot more fatty liver disease.
Yeah.
Men have worse heart disease because they have worse high blood pressure and worse high cholesterol.
Yeah.
Insulin, testosterone, bad. So what happens when we have females who have high insulin compared to females who have high insulin and high testosterone? All those metabolic risks that are worse in men are also worse in women with PM, metabolic OS. And what's been happening is they come up as a teenager. They don't have normal periods.
Yeah.
The doctor says, take this birth control, go lose weight, come back when you want to get pregnant.
Yes.
They can't get pregnant. They have miscarriages. They go to the doctor. They get told to lose weight.
Yep.
Finally get into IVF, get pregnant. IVF doctor is not your gynecologist. That's not who delivers you.
Right.
You go to a different doctor who doesn't know that you have PMOS and that you are a high-risk pregnancy, that you are much more likely to get diabetes in pregnancy. If you haven't already gotten diabetes, you're much more likely to have a preterm birth. So baby comes out early, you have high blood pressure in pregnancy, right?
Yes.
Well, it's just an ovary syndrome. Why would I say anything to my delivering doctor? Because I'm pregnant. So who cares about the ovary? So you've got all these pregnancy complications. This medical information isn't passing on, right? Yeah. Well, then we go through the pause, as you said.
Yeah, the pause.
And we're like, no, our ovaries don't work anymore. We don't care. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. After menopause, women who had PMOS still have that increased risk of all of that cardiometabolic disease. They need to be tested more often. It needs to be a high risk cardiovascular risk. And the American Heart Association put PCOS in their guidelines 3 years ago. So
They really?
they did. And so having that as a risk.
Go. Isn't that interesting?
Exactly.
GLP-1 treatments were exploding. I'm just saying.
Well, yes. But it's
just they're exploding.
You need to be put on statins earlier, or you can get a GLP-1. So all of this, and because of this old ovary name,
True.
this was being missed across the board. So it took 14 years to get this name. I was at the initial meeting in 2012 at the NIH when we started talking about it. The Australian government has paid for this entire thing. And it has been led by Monash University and mostly patient driven. This is not coming from the doctors. This is us providing the platform and having the patient say what they want. And so
that inspires me. Keep on going.
86% of patients picked this final name.
Wow. I love that. That's really great. I think, one thing we've been doing the show a few years now, and we had on one of our first doctors was Dr. Salis Whalen. I don't know if you know her. She's an endocrinologist, and she came on to talk about PCOS with us, and she was like, "Oh yeah, like PCOS is insulin resistance," and she was and obesity, insulin resistance most of the time, right? And then diabetes, insulin resistance. And she like made this connection, and we were like,
yeah, exactly.
Like it's crazy. It plays such a big role. And I can't even tell you how many times on this platform I've had people say to me, "Oh no, my A1C is okay." And I'm like, that does not mean that you don't have insulin resistance, but we didn't know. And we didn't know to ask. And the doctors don't go for, I don't really know why, but they don't, so, but it is insane. Like the connection between it, Kat, I just teach.
Yeah. That just makes me think, where does this put us? Like, does this tee us off to like, obviously for like future treatments, or the shift in earlier diagnosis, better treatment, maybe, changing the way women and adolescents are treated? How is all that you see forecasting moving forward?
Yeah. So in a lot of different ways. And so, like I said, the diagnostic criteria have not changed. Where we're hoping it's going to, the name change process, not the name per se, but the name change process is going to help, is through the efforts of folks like you. And just getting this condition out in the media and saying, hey, what I say is periods are a vital sign for women. If you are sick or there is something wrong with your body, if you're not taking hormones or something else that's messing with your periods, you need to go see your doctor because something's wrong. And so hopefully getting this message out that if you are having abnormal periods or growing hair and really trying to disseminate even just what this condition is, that's where we're hoping that will improve the diagnosis, not through the name change itself, but through this really active process, right? Where we're hoping that we're going to see really immediately is better metabolic screening. So I run a 19-center group of PCOS physicians across the country. So we've got, Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. We've got Boston. So hospitals all over the place. And we have been putting in all of the data that we have on our patients with PMOS. And so we've got 1,100 patients in there. And in addition to looking at, what does PMOS look like in a teenager when they first get diagnosed, we also said, who diagnosed them? How were they diagnosed? And did they have metabolic screening within 3 months of diagnosis per guidelines that have existed since 2013?
Wow.
So that's been in the guidelines for over a decade.
Wow.
And the screening rates for cardiometabolic disease in our girls with PMOS within 3 months of diagnosis are horrible. And in our girls who don't struggle with extra weight, it is less than 50%.
I believe it.
But what our data showed, 7% of girls who don't struggle with weight and have PMOS have high blood sugars. 20% of them have markers of liver inflammation. So, we need to be starting this right now.
It's just sitting there waiting. Yeah.
It's just sitting there and they're not being checked. They're at risk for all of these conditions. There's a huge weight bias. The people in bigger bodies are getting checked more often, but it's still less than 70 to 80% for most of the measures.
Yeah.
And yet they're really high risk for this diabetes, right? That could kill them. So, yeah.
Well, I think
so
a lot
that's
of us
immediate.
on these meds that have been on them and struggle with obesity for a long time, like whether it was adolescence or whether it was later in life. I think all of us, women, and this could be for men too. I'm being very specific about my women audience right now, is that we have been like, wait a second, what the fuck? Like, do you want to looking back? Like exactly what Kat just says, like, yeah, right. Like we're like, what's happening? And then I think that we're also seeing our bodies respond this way and being like, but what about my daughter? What about my granddaughter? What about my niece? Like, because you see them going through the same things and you're like, is it genetic? What do we do? And it's like, okay, well, if that's what's happening and it's happening this early and we don't want our kids to have to get to, right, the level that we're at, right? Like we don't want them to get far, right? If we could possibly stop, and everybody feels that way. Like I think everybody ultimately, for the most part, and don't get me wrong, I'm in my pharma era. Okay. I take it all. I don't give a crap. Like at this help, I take it all. I don't, I'm like, no. So anyway, but sorry, that got really squirrely, but there are a lot of us that think like, we don't want to give our kids like medicine. Like I don't give my kids medicine. Like, he only just now started taking Advil and he's 13. Like that's pretty much all I've ever done. If they've ever recommended anything, it's only been like bare minimum, like because his brain is still developing and stuff. But if I thought I saw signs in him when I know I have obesity and his dad has obesity, right? I would, then I would probably be like, okay, like what do we need to consider? Right? Because I know that it's a progressive disease. Like I know that,
right.
And I don't think people, one, think about it as a disease, and two, think about it as progressive, and also don't understand sort of this underlying dysfunction that you're talking about, right? That kind of leads there, right? So
exactly.
I think what would be really interesting is to understand when we see these things in our children, grandchildren, nieces, right? How do we advocate for them? And what treatments are available? And how do we know, I think too, like when are we being dismissed and they're just going to go outside and exercise and mama, right? And when do we do that and something else,
Yeah, exactly. So, lifestyle is not food and activity. And I think that's the other thing that we really need to think about.
Mm-hmm.
So if we coming back to PMOS, but any child who's struggling with excess weight, remember I said excess weight causes you to have more insulin, right? And then you have a kiddo with excess weight and then you go into puberty. Well, now we've got two causes of excess weight, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not losing the weight per se. The goal should be to lower the insulin. Mm-hmm. Things that lower insulin often lead to weight loss. Yeah. But what I found in one of our studies, so we looked at oral semaglutide, oral GLP-1 versus diet, and primarily cutting carbs in teenagers with PMOS and excess weight. And our girls who were cutting the carbs had improvements in their PMOS symptoms. Their testosterone came down. They got more periods. Their insulin came down. The same as the girls at the beginning of the GLP-1 treatment. So what I think is amazing about that message is food changes, cutting the carbs in the absence of weight loss.
If you're like most of us, you've been denied a GLP-1 at least once. But did you know that less than 1% of denied claims are ever even appealed, even though the data suggests that over 60% of appeals are often approved? That means that people who should be paying $25 a month are instead paying thousands of dollars a year out of pocket, not necessarily because appeals don't work, but because the process is confusing and time consuming. But that's where Honest Care comes in. You go to their site and then you just start with a quick assessment. And then Honest Care will build your appeal with the clinical and medical arguments that your insurer needs to hear, and then guide you through submitting it. If you've been denied, don't stop there because most appeals must be filed within 90 days. So don't wait. Go to findhonestcare.com/Kim to get your free assessment today. That's findhonestcare.com/Kim.
Yeah. Made them healthier. So it's really important. And that's why I think we need to get away from this weight loss message. It is lowering the insulin. And if you also happen to lose weight, awesome.
Yes. So true. Let me just tell you, we had this doctor on our show. It's a good friend of ours now that is a bariatric surgeon. And it was like our first season. We talked about childhood obesity. And he said this thing that blew my friggin' mind. He goes, literally, we used to do bariatric surgery on people, and we started noticing that they would be in remission from their diabetes type 2 before they left the hospital and lost any weight.
Yeah.
And they were like, and I was like, well, what happened? And he goes, because we were taking GLP-1 at the bottom of the intestine and bringing up higher, and it was bursting. Then, so we were like, let's reverse engineer that. Obviously, I'm very much oversimplifying, right? But that blew my mind. Like nobody knows this. Still, I make videos all the time about this thing, because this is understanding that it's not your fault and it's a disease disorder and you deserve treatment. That thing right there. But people don't know. They don't know. They think it's a weight loss medicine. Drives me crazy.
Well,
the only thing that makes me make videos,
I mean, so, I originally said this about antidepressants and mood medications, and now I say it about the GLP-1s. If it wasn't a chemical problem, why would a chemical fix it?
Wow. Yeah.
Right?
So true. Yeah. Like it really does blow my mind. Like, but it's so weird because it's against everything we've ever been taught. Right. So it's very difficult to unwind that and understand that even now, like I'm telling you, like even now when I look, like my activity's lower for sure. Like since I've been going through the grief, I am not eating more. I'm not eating different, and I'm gaining weight. Like I'm telling you, like I've had metabolic disease forever, right? We've talked about this, right? So, I mean, it's just like people don't understand that either. They don't understand that your body starts to burn differently in certain like phases and times, like when stuff happens. Nobody knows that. And even I, knowing this, I'm all like, well, I guess I got to this and I guess I got to, which I do got to those because that's about my health. But it shouldn't be, I got to this and that because of my weight, because that's not.
It's about health. It's about it. And it's about health. And I think it's always a better conversation about health.
Yeah, it is.
So this comes back to lifestyle. Some of the things, so what else makes insulin work? What else makes insulin not work and raise insulin levels? Cortisol. So
let's talk about cortisol.
We're grieving. We're stressed out.
Yeah.
Our cortisol's higher. What does cortisol do? It goes to the energy sensing part in our brain called the hypothalamus. And it makes the energy sensing part in our brain say, feed me sugar and feed me fat and give me a lot right now.
So when you're sad, depressed, stressed, and when you have those sugar and the fat cravings it
can be related to, so lifestyle is not just cutting carbs. Yeah. It's not just increasing activity. So activity, when you're active, you can take sugar out of your blood without insulin. So you need less insulin. So, go lose weight and chill out. Very poor language. Yeah. Actually, partially medically correct. If you do the things to lower the insulin and you lose weight, great. Yeah. Seeing a therapist, managing depression, lowering your daily cortisol can help with some of those food cravings.
Like I feel like
exactly
meditation.
Yeah. That's like, it makes me think of, it's the opposite end for you, Kim. So when I lost my dad a couple of years ago, I went and I think, cycling, indoor cycling is one of my favorite things. Well, at this one cycle bar, right? Mm-hmm. And I put up crazy high numbers because there are points in class where I would start to like try to, I'd start crying, but then I was like, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. But like, it became addictive. Like I had to go write. I had to write every freaking morning. Like, it was, some people when they grieve, they don't move, they stop. But I just had to, oh my gosh.
Well, that's a dopamine. So that means your brain really likes dopamine. So if you exercise hard enough to cross your exercise threshold, people describe it as a runner's high.
Right.
Right. You work hard enough. Some people, and, back when I was very young and, I played college and soccer and I've run one marathon and I will never run another one. But when you hit that runner's high, that those hormones, like some people have them big enough for the runner's high, but it's dopamine and it's those pleasurable hormones and your brain gets addicted to it. So that's
I had to do it.
hormones.
It kept me
This is why I love the endo.
So yeah. Wow. Okay. I mean, I would go to my car and do like an ugly cry on the way home, but like it was like such a release.
Yeah.
And then
exercising is a release. Like she's not wrong about that. Like, but I think I'm only just now getting to where like I think I'm gonna, like I need to be able.
People handle it in different ways. You don't have to be like gung ho like the next person. You can,
I've been on one walk and I cried the whole time. Like it's one of those things. And I also think, and Kat knows with me, exercise induces some emotions for me and like release and some crying. And so this is also than that. It's something about my brain being like, that ain't safe when you're doing that right now because we'll lose it. Like something's going on in my brain. And so now I'm like, I'm getting, that's why I was like, I'm going to order some weights. I'm going to this, like, it's like I'm taking steps. It's just, they're very, very tiny, but I'm headed there and I can do it because I've done it 850,002 million times. Right. And now I have GLP-1, so I'll be fine, but it's still frustrating,
this may be an obvious, but so like say, stress and life events could exacerbate your PMOS, right? Because it's the cortisol, right? Okay.
And the last big piece to this that relates to cortisol is sleep. So if we have a nice night's sleep, your cortisol drops. Cortisol has what's called a diurnal rhythm. Di means, just that it varies and through the day. So your cortisol is highest in the morning, gets you revved up, out of bed, getting going, and then it slowly drops through the day. We feel kind of crummy in the afternoon. And then if you go to sleep before midnight, if you're not a shift worker, if you stay asleep for at least 7 hours and you don't have obstructive sleep apnea, then your cortisol will drop down. Well, yes, exactly. That's part of the reason that is part of the reason that women going through menopause gain weight is you get the hot flashes at night. Yes. And you lose your overnight cortisol drop because you're awake. See, aren't hormones cool? So anyway,
they're very powerful, right?
They are. So there's your last piece. So this is where I'm saying it's not, you don't go lose weight. It is a comprehensive lifestyle to figure out to lower
it's a management, right? Like it's not even a lifestyle changes. It's like a management. Like you're managing your disease with all of these different things, like medicine, movement, right? Meditation. Oh, they're all M's, right? But like seriously, like that's kind of what it is, right? It's like you are in this state and you have this thing, right? And so you're just doing these things to treat it. Like I wonder if people saw it that way instead of seeing it as, because I think when people, in my opinion, who have been in big bodies most of their lives, especially if they were young and dismissed, right? When you say lifestyle changes, just that we're thinking about name changes, I'm just saying, lifestyle changes, they hear diet culture and they hear it's their fault. Like there's some emotional, mental stuff there that's very deep. And I'm like, we got to call it something else. Like I told Kat, I was like,
lifestyle change could be going to therapy,
but lifestyle changes is what we consider dismissive because that's what happened, right? So I feel like there's got to be a different way for us to communicate. This isn't about this is about health.
There's about health, right? It's about the health. Yeah,
it is
exactly.
Like you're just treating the health. and then weight loss follows. And guess what? It's probably only going to hit a certain amount. Some people going to go all the way down. Somebody going to go a little bit. But you can only do what you can do. You do the pieces you can do, and the rest just has to be worked out, God or medicine or whatever, That's just.
And it also has to be what is right for you and your body. So what I really like about the PCOS guidelines that I actually feel have really helped me as a physician is, with the exception of making sure that somebody's uterus is healthy. If we don't have periods, we increase the risk for endometrial cancer. It is 6 to 8 times higher in women with PMOS. With the exception of making sure that we're doing something to make keep the endometrium healthy, and medications for type 2, whatever the patient wants to do and wherever they want to start is where they start. And what I say is, my job is to open the buffet and make sure you know what everything is. And you start with what feels right for you, your family. So, for one person, it may be getting them into therapy, treating their depression. Now they have the energy to have activity. They're sleeping through the night, right? Another girl that I had, snoring like a freight train, woke up in the middle of the night, went downstairs, 8 blocks of cheese. We did a sleep study on her. She had these massive tonsils, took her tonsils out. She lost over 50 pounds in 6 months because we're sleeping through the night. We don't have, we now get cortisol, and we're not going down. We have the energy to exercise during the day. We're not coming home and going to sleep after school, and we're not eating cheese at midnight. So, and then all her periods came back, and her PCOS was completely managed. But so for her, it was the sleep.
And sleep.
She just needed her tonsils out so she could sleep.
Louise. God.
Exactly. So that's where you kind of have to look at the big picture and see, where are we going to start? So these are some of the things that one, I've been really trying to understand. What is the insulin status in girls with PMOS? And is it the same in girls with excess weight or girls without excess weight? And that was some of the very early work that I did when I came to Colorado. And teenagers with PMOS, regardless of weight, have high insulin. And I call it pre-diabetes. Coming back to what you said before. Well, I have normal blood sugars.
Yeah. Because they do. And
you have normal blood sugars because you're making a ton of insulin.
Yeah.
So then you say, well, why don't you measure my insulin level? We don't have norms, and we don't have a good, reliable test. This is why we don't have consistent insulin measuring. If we had consistent insulin measuring, it would be so helpful, right? Because if your doctor's saying, hey, you've got high insulin, let's bring your insulin down.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, well, give me that level. The same as hemoglobin A1C, right? Oh, that level's too high. I need to do X, Y, and Z to bring it down.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have a good test. So if we can get a good test, then we could start using it medically. And I think then the message of decreasing insulin.
So what about type 1 diabetics? How do they measure it?
We don't. We measure their sugars. They don't have insulin.
Sugars.
We just treat their
insulin. Yes.
So we need an insulin level test, right? That's one of the missing pieces that could bring this all together.
My dad wasn't on insulin, but it was for a long time.
So we don't. I mean, some physicians, they may order it all the time, and they may be going to the same lab, and they have a large amount of patients that they order it on. Yeah. And so they may have a sense of, well, in my lab, if you don't struggle with weight and you exercise, your insulin, and you're an adult, your insulin is going to be 9 or less. If you exercise, struggle with weight, exercise makes a huge difference to insulin levels. If you exercise, struggle with weight, don't have obstructive sleep apnea, maybe you're going to be 10 to 16. And that's what I just expect about your physiology. So that's where we don't know one, we don't know what's normal. And then two, the tests vary so much. But, if your doctor's checking your insulin.
Do they do studies on this? Like, we're going to change this thing and see how it affects insulin? Like,
absolutely. So those are the studies that I do.
Oh, you do? So when you exercise and it helps manage insulin, what is the reason for that? Like, what's happening in the body that it's helping manage insulin levels?
So one, when you're actively exercising.
Like when it's happening is when you mean actively exercising?
When you're actively exercising, the process of exercise brings the sugar receptors to the blood. So normally you need insulin to bring the sugar receptors to the blood so that your muscle or your fat can take the sugar out of the blood. So that's how insulin works. And when insulin doesn't work well enough, you need super high levels of insulin to bring those insulin receptors to the surface.
Wow.
When you exercise, the process of exercise brings those sugar receptors to the surface without insulin. So this is why when people run marathons and they don't take goop and they're exercising for a long time, their muscles are pulling the sugar out of the blood, even though there's no insulin, and they end up with a low blood sugar.
You explained the muscle in the beginning. It's all connecting now. Okay. Wow. And so that makes you process it better, but that's only happening, let's say, if we're lucky, like 30 minutes to an hour, let's just say a day. So, and that's if you do it, 7 days a week. So, but over time, like something's going on within your body that's helping like kind of maintain that, not while the active exercise is going on, right?
Yep. So there it helps, it's like turning your body from a VW bug into Ferrari, right? So even if you're cruising along, not doing very much, that bug is going to be way less efficient, right? And, that Ferrari is just going to be super efficient. So what it does over time, so now we're talking a training effect, right? Yes. So over time, you make all of the machinery in your muscle and in your fat use sugar better. And so over time, then when you use sugar better, you need less insulin.
But how permanent is it with just lifestyle, with just exercising? Like
you detrain very quickly. So
yeah, because I was very heavy and still exercised. So
I actually did too.
And I kept it.
We're different, but I did all the sports. I did dancing. Like I was still big. I've just been like this forever.
Yeah.
I could never.
Were you stressed? Were you stressed? Were you getting poor sleep? Were you doing liquid calories? And then this is what really, and then there's our environment.
I was never a big bloated drinker or anything like that. I just drink because I get the hunger and the thirst signals get mixed with the GLP-1 in the brain, right? So like sometimes I'm like, I gotta drink something, and so I drink a Gatorade. But like, no, I've never, and it's even easier to say no to sugar drinks now than it ever has been. But I didn't. I was like Kat. I did sports, like, but I was
talking about like adulthood, like into like my 40s now. Like I always exercise.
I was, and it wasn't until I was out of college that I wasn't doing those things. Like, you know what I mean? And then it was always like, okay, it's been 6 months. Try to lose weight again. Okay, lost some. It's back. I give up. Okay, fine. And then 6 months later, all right, I gotta lose weight again. That's been my entire existence. Yeah. Like,
this makes me think of something because it was at Dr. Gordon.
On a GLP-1.
Right?
Life sucks.
When Dr. Gordon was talking about the Biggest Loser, and it wasn't really like the starving that they were doing. It was the massive amounts of activity that they had them do. That makes me think that's the insulin connection where they were working out like athletes 8 hours a day. And that's what was.
Yeah.
So have you ever read like
expecting change? You what now?
Oh, I was just going to say if Michael Phelps he found eating to be a chore. He had to eat 9,500 calories a day to maintain his weight because of what it takes to train. So it is absolutely both. But I think it's very important to realize, again, we need to come back to this message of health.
Yeah.
So exercise in the absence of weight loss is still fabulous for your heart, for your brain, significantly decreases cardiovascular disease risk, decreases heart attacks, decreases strokes, even if you don't lose weight.
Yeah.
So again, coming back to that message of health that you're talking about, but you're not failing if you're not losing weight and you're doing one of these activities. You are still doing good for your body. And I think that's really important
to get away from telling people they're failing at all when it comes to this. I really do.
Yes, well, that is true.
Factors, like the things that we're talking about, plus you add in, life, like losing your job, losing your sister, whatever. Like there are so many things that affect sleep, cortisol, hormones, like time stages of life. Like it's at the point where we're like, if you don't have this every moment, having this like super Herculean effort, right? Where you are whatever, and whatever all together at the same time, and you're a Ferrari or whatever. And if you're not doing those things, because that is exactly what we think, especially if you've been like this forever, right? And then why does this concern me? And I'll tell you I just want you to let you know, this concerns me because what happens is eventually people on these treatments they're doing everything. Okay. They stop. They're done. They lower and lower and lower. And then they get to the point where they're like, what do I do? Eat 1,000 calories a day and they're an adult. And the answer is that is what they think they need to do. I've seen people in my comments say they're eating 500 calories a day to try to get to goal weight because that size equals success, right? So, I've always been the big body. So even me at a size 14, 16, 12, like this area for me, it's fine, right? But there are people who feel like that equals I've done everything right. And they will, because of this mindset, restrict themselves so significantly that they're going to starve themselves, they're going to hurt their muscles and their organs and all. And I know it does.
Brain.
And the brain. You would not believe the stuff that people do in my comments too, because they think the answer is to continually lower calories and no matter how much low it takes. Right. And you and I also both know there's going to be a point where the body's going to be like, right. And I think you're starving yourself. You have these horrible things that you're doing to your organs. And I don't know if doctors know about it I think they know like it exists or whatever, but it lives in my comment section. Like,
well, I treat, teenagers have lots of disorders.
Yeah.
So, and that's actually a really big topic right now. With so much disordered eating, some of my colleagues many colleagues and many recommendations say don't use any GLP-1s in anybody with disordered eating.
Everybody has disordered eating.
I actually, there are certainly people who really need to deal with how there's always a place and a time, but it is being applied way too broadly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so,
I understand the disordered part where you have to be.
Yeah.
But like Kat has been big forever. And she's like, you would not believe how much disordered eating. It's like, it is not.
Oh, it's horrific.
Body size. It's just not, and I can't help but wonder too, what's the driver of that? Like, it's not that there aren't other things that affect disordered eating. We know that there are, but we also know a lot of that happens when you're young and you're trying to control things. Right. And we also
same
know
beauty standards.
Right?
I was going to say, we were all kids during Cosmo, right? Weren't you looking at Cosmo? And that's when Claudia Schiffer came out, and it was all about the supermodels.
Cindy Crawford. We were in the era of the supermodels. Cindy Crawford, Naomi.
I mean, it really started coming in.
I guess like 15, and I bought this book to help me lose weight. And the book advised me that whenever I hear my stomach growling, that I should be happy for that because my body's eating itself and I'm going to get skinny. That's the kind of shit.
I heard that too. Whatever. So but it comes back to really focusing on this message of health and weight loss or weight gain is not failure or success. It is a byproduct of taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's
That
where,
byproduct.
And I think there's always readjustment too, right? Like, hey, Kim's gone through, I'm just giving me an example, but like Kim's gone through, and Kat gave a really good example with the menopause, right? But like Kim's gone through loss, right? She hasn't been moving. I'm not overeating, but I'm also not really moving, and I'm not really sleeping. And you know what I mean? Like all of those things are affected, which have caused
cortisol. Yeah.
Plus, I'm going through perimenopause, like cortisol, right? All those things we just talked about. So does Kim equal fail, or does Kim go to doctor and say, okay, this is where I'm at? And we go, okay, then we need to adjust your treatments, right? Is it we add another GLP-1? Is it that we, consider like, what are we eating right now? Like, is it more carb heavy? Like, okay, let's look at that. Okay, let's just adjust it. Like, I think that people think that it's set it and forget it. And I will just say for most people, that's not the case because of all of these things we've talked about, the complexities around weight, right? And many times, like you're going to have ups and downs. I can't even tell you, my mama is 70 and she's on GLP. And she will go, we just traveled. She just kept on me the other day. We just traveled, we went up there and, Dad lost 5 pounds and I gained 3. And I was like, Mom, do you really think that you gained 3 pounds of fat in a weekend? Because that.
No, she ate a ton of, she ate and hasn't pooped yet. I mean, it's
seriously, but I'm telling you, like, it's that disordered. Like like if doctors ever wonder what's really going on, you go in the comment section. Because they will come to us, or they come to you.
I do go look.
You know what? I got a question for you. And I think about it too. So, mothers in a certain generation, almond moms, do you have to kind of sometimes toggle the road between the almond mom parent and the child, and where does it intersect? Sometimes maybe a parent might be a little too like, well, they just need the same thing, dismissive. You just need to start moving. And how do you navigate that intersection?
Absolutely. And I mean, that's really, we don't just have a patient like adult doctors. We, everybody's within their family circle, but within the scope of a child, they're not in control of their diet. I think to be honest, the ones that bother me more are she should just have control. And I don't have to change my eating ways. And her younger brothers are skinny, so I'm not going to take away their soda and I'm not going to take away their chips. She just has to have the control to not eat it. So there's that I feel is, but you're right. So it's kind of going along those lines of what you're saying, like it's just their fault. I think that's where I struggle the most. Is when as a child, they are not being supported and in no way, shape, or form are being set up for any kind of success.
Being singled out.
I don't keep desserts in my house. They're gone. Right? The kids got pissed at me. I I ate their Easter treats because they didn't hide them. I cannot control myself around candy. I just can't have
I love candy. I love it. Yeah.
You don't eat it, I'm eating it. Get it out of this house.
Exactly. So certainly in our adolescence, it's definitely challenging. And I've one of the things I really like about taking care of patients to 18, 19, 20 is I do see some of them getting out of unhealthy homes. And, getting their own control of their diet and their stress management, or getting away from a stressful situation, and just seeing them be able to take ownership, full ownership of their lives and just blossoming.
That's cool. I love that. Well, that was very rewarding work. I can imagine. Like, I didn't know any of those things about that early onset piece. It makes actually a lot more sense now, because I kept thinking, even to myself, even though all that I know about this, right, only from a patient perspective, right? But all that I know about this, and even then, I'd be like, God, it'd be really hard for me to choose to put my 12-year-old right on it. Like like if we had tried all the things and they hadn't worked, like something like that. Like, but I get it. Like, I get it because the whole goal, it sounds like, and it also sounds like we're still learning, is to try to get it into control now before it progresses. Right.
Exactly. And I think that's
right. What you're saying, like the way it's being diagnosed, what they're calling it, and hopefully, I guess, the extension of telling, I would say, I think like pediatricians as well as, regular like PCPs, what to look for.
Well, and our geriatricians, and making sure, I think that the two areas we really need to focus are the areas where we don't think about the ovary as much, right?
Yeah.
That's the name change.
Yeah.
We really need to be focusing on our teenagers, and everybody who's in menopause now needs to think back and say, well, gosh, did I have PMOS and I haven't talked to my doctor about my increased risk status? Or did I have symptoms that maybe would have supported this diagnosis? And I wasn't diagnosed, but I may have this increased risk. But everything in medicine comes down to the risk benefit ratio for the individual. And this is where we are so shortchanged in American medicine by the time constraints of our appointments. I am amazingly fortunate in endocrinology that my appointments are 30 or 40 minutes. We can actually talk about risk benefit ratios, right? So it may be that you need to, and so they say that if you really want to be successful with losing weight, you need to see a patient every 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, I get it.
And I have to wonder if that's I have to think that's because our contacts are so short. But think about it. Your doctor's like, you go in, you get all energized, you go home, you're doing it for 2 weeks, and they're like, oh, this kind of sucks.
Something happens,
right? You stop doing it, and then you're like, oh, my doctor's appointment's coming up in 2 weeks.
Let me get it together,
right? So if you don't go longer than 6 weeks,
sustained, right? Like, it's a vicious.
So if you do 4 to 6 weeks, your slack is less.
Yeah.
If you are the kind of person who responds to having, and it doesn't have to be a doctor, it could be a dietitian or, but I also think that's because of the short contact.
A good opportunity there. I think with dietitians, we've had a couple on our show to be the person PCP to possibly be there to ask more questions about GLP. Like there's and disease and management, all things, right? Like, but I think there is opportunity there because they actually have, I think, a little more space, right? And you can meet with, because if not, they come, like I hate to say that, they come on the internet and they ask me, and like, so my response to them is, this is what I learned from doctors. Here is the language to go talk to yours, because I am a marketer on the internet. You know what I'm saying? Like, so they come to me because they are desperate, because they don't trust doctors. Like it's a massive problem. And like, even I tell cows, even me, who have friends that are doctors because of the show, right? I still, when I have a question, will go to my community and make a video and ask them what it's been like for them before I will ask my doctor. Isn't that crazy? Like that.
Well, I've fired doctors. I'm a doctor who's fired doctors, and I'm a doctor who's sued doctors. So, it's. The joke that we have.
So dumb.
What are the jokes? What's the joke?
What's the name of the person who got the lowest grade in medical school?
I don't know. A doctor.
A doctor.
Because it's still pass, right? Like, there's a threshold. I get it.
Yeah.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I think before we go, if you would tell us a little bit about what you've maybe seen in the trials, because I know, there's not, from what I understand, there's not like, it's our last one, but there's not like a medicine that's been like, yes, this is an indication for PCOS, right? Or now we write PCOS, right? Because I know a lot of my friends took metformin, right? With PCOS, and they were like, some of them were like, yeah, how you lose a little bit of weight and we get pregnant. Like some people think it's great, but most people I talk to are like, it's garbage. Right. And I'm curious, like, is there one? Is this a possibility of one maybe with studies? Like, do we think there's a possibility of that? Or are they always going to kind of be like, it's obesity, it's diabetes?
No. So metformin makes insulin work better.
Yeah.
Okay. If you don't do lifestyle changes with metformin, you are not going to see much change. It's not actually a weight loss medication. It makes you a little bit nauseous, so you don't eat as much because you feel crummy and you don't put as much in your stomach. And sometimes when you get huge insulin spikes and then your insulin drops, you get food cravings. And metformin helps smooth out those insulin curves, so it helps those food cravings go away. So metformin is for the high insulin in PMOS. Birth control pills bring down that testosterone really fast. They get rid of the androgens. They help clean up the skin. They're going to give you a period. And especially for teenagers, they have a period like their friends every month. But and this is research that we're doing right now. And we just did this with our statistician on Tuesday. So you're going to have to wait a little bit for this to be presented. But in our girls,
it'd be wonderful.
Yep, there you go. In our girls with PMOS who don't struggle with weight, they're not gaining weight with birth control pills, which is what our gynecologists keep saying.
Interesting.
In the girls who struggle with weight that we put on birth control pills, birth control makes insulin work less. So maybe in our people who don't struggle with weight, it doesn't matter. But in our people who do struggle with weight, and now we've got PMOS, in our individuals who have a bigger body size and PMOS, and when we put them on birth control pills, they gain weight. And that is what all of the endocrinologists have been saying. So we are showing this in our U.S. teenagers.
Yeah.
Those are the two treatments for PMOS and comprehensive lifestyle. Then there's specific things for certain symptoms. So to your next question, are we going to have a medication approved for PMOS?
Yeah.
Not anytime soon. PCOS Challenge has been the major advocacy group in the United States. And Sasha Oti, who runs it, is absolutely amazing. And I've been an advisor with them for a long time. They do meetings with our senators. PMOS was not a condition that you could look up, as PCOS, the former name.
Right.
You couldn't look it up because it wasn't a listed diagnosis within our NIH grants to even see how much funding went through to it. It wasn't a nameable condition within all of the government registries. They made that happen. And it wasn't part of the FDA in any way, shape, or form. So PCOS Challenge, along with some of my colleagues who also do a lot of advocacy work, colleague physicians, Anuja Dokris from the University of Pennsylvania and Sasha with PCOS Challenge led the very first listening tour of the FDA on the condition of PCOS in December of 2023.
Wow.
To even get them to think about that it is a condition that needs to be treated. This, again, we're hoping is influenced by the name change.
Yeah.
So,
because it's just like
exactly
crisis,
So what endpoints can you treat?
Yeah.
Well, you can treat infertility. So some of the studies, and we will have a study published within the next month. It's just a very small study showing that injectable GLP-1s. So this is, now here, there is a role of weight loss in here, but what we found is that women who lost more than 10% of their body weight, 6 of the 8, their PMOS got way better. One had no change, and one, her body thought she was starving.
Wow.
And shut her periods down.
God.
Like somebody with disordered eating.
Oh, wow.
So this is where we really need to do the research when we're looking at it for reproduction. But their testosterone dropped by 50%.
Oh my God. When they lost 10%?
When they lost 10%. We haven't analyzed the rest of the data. I'm guessing that their insulin
we'll have you back on.
Came way down. My primary endpoint for that is rates of ovulation.
Yeah.
Rates of ovulation and infertility have defined endpoints within the FDA. So if we're going to get any indication for a GLP-1, it is going to be for infertility that women with PMOS can take advantage of. The other thing is they're approved for obstructive sleep apnea, fatty liver disease, and type 2 diabetes. And if our adults with PMOS aren't being screened for obstructive sleep apnea or MASLD, the fatty liver disease, they may be eligible to get on a GLP-1 covered by insurance, but they're not getting the metabolic screening. So that is actually the last point where I see this name change with improved metabolic screening could make an immediate difference to women with PMOS who struggle with health, have these metabolic conditions, and don't realize that they could be eligible for a GLP-1 under one of these metabolic conditions.
Yeah. Wow. Fascinating. Oh my gosh.
So,
I would love
lots to do. Yeah.
That Ozempic baby thing is very real. Like that we have had many.
Oh, we know. We're doing a research trial on it. We'll have to come back and have me talk more about
we got to talk more on it.
That had PCOS, that started these meds, lost weight, and not even all their weight, just lost weight, pregnant. Like it's like that, you know what I mean? And couldn't. PCOS could not, infertility couldn't get pregnant, you know? It's crazy. I mean, I'm just telling you, it's like never could have kids, you know? It's insane. Yeah. But I can't wait to hear all about it. So when you're published, you have to come back for part 2.
Oh, yes. So maybe next fall, I should have a good 4 or 5 out that I can actually.
Yeah. Love it. And that would be wonderful. We'll do it. Well, where can people find you if they want to follow your research or anything like that? Or tell us all the things. We'll put it in the show notes as well.
So I have all of my research on my lab website. So, and I also explain what PMOS is. We have one PMOS trial that's currently enrolling. Everybody gets semaglutide.
Semaglutide's great. Don't get out of bed.
So, we're just looking for the women now who have PMOS and are taking metformin, and it hasn't fixed. Metformin has not fixed their periods.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have never enrolled for a research trial so fast in the group that didn't need to be taking any other meds, and they got 10 months of free semaglutide.
Yeah, that's something to consider. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So absolutely. I can give you the link to post, or
that'd be great.
If they just Google Cree, CREE, and then you can put University of Colorado and then lab, and then Google should pop it up pretty close to the top. And then there's lots more information on my lab website. We do one-time medical consults for adolescents, and how to do that for people living in other states is there. And then we actually have a multidisciplinary clinic for adults with PMOS at the University of Colorado, and that clinic and that lab group is easy to find.
I love that. Yeah. So awesome. We'll get all those links, friends. We'll put them in the show notes. Make sure that you like and subscribe and comment and share and reviews and all those different things help us keep our work going here, because it takes a lot of time and energy, and we love you, but it's hard. Okay. So engage. Just engage. It's free. Please. And this has been a wonderful conversation. I learned so much. You know, I think the big takeaway is, friends, is that if you struggled with this growing up, you probably had a dysfunction and weren't given the attention that you needed. And if you love someone who's struggling with this, then push to get some metabolic testing, like have all these things considered now and see if there are options, you know, and let's stop calling them lifestyle changes. That's my take.
There you go. And there's still an insulin test out there. So any of you people out in school and medical school or graduate, undergrad,
the next person that's going to help us
something to consider for your projects.
Absolutely. How do we have a good measurement for insulin? I like it. All right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. We love you. We will see you next week. Hasta pasta. If you're like most of us, you've been denied a GLP-1 at least once. But did you know that less than 1% of denied claims are ever even appealed, even though the data suggests that over 60% of appeals are often approved? That means that people who should be paying $25 a month are instead paying thousands of dollars a year out of pocket, not necessarily because appeals don't work, but because the process is confusing and time-consuming. But that's where Honest Care comes in. You go to their site, and then you just start with a quick assessment. And then Honest Care will build your appeal with the clinical and medical arguments that your insurer needs to hear, and then guide you through submitting it. If you've been denied, don't stop there, because most appeals must be filed within 90 days. So don't wait. Go to findhonestcare.com/Kim to get your free assessment today. That's findhonestcare.com Ro.co/Kim.
Are you interested in understanding GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, wegovy, or Mounjaro? Then join us on the Plus SideZ Cracking the Obesity Code, the groundbreaking podcast helping people change their lives one episode at a time. The Plus SideZ Podcast is a disruptor. We're breaking down barriers, smashing stereotypes, and sharing inspiring stories that'll leave you feeling informed and empowered. Join us every week to learn from doctors who are specialists around GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, wegovy, and Mounjaro. They'll provide you with science and facts to validate these incredible stories. But that's not all. We'll also bring you the voices of the GLP-1 Mounjaro TikTok community, real people who face the challenges of obesity, related diseases and disorders, and discovered the incredible plus sides of GLP-1 medications. Our episodes are filled with heartwarming stories, laughter, and moments of triumph. You'll connect with our amazing community members who are reclaiming their health and experiencing their fullest lives. Are you ready to embark on a journey of discovery and empowerment? Tune in to the Plus SideZ Cracking the Obesity Code, and together we'll change the narrative around obesity and end the stigma. Subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform and join our incredible community. Let's celebrate the plus sides of life together, because every story deserves to be heard. Every life deserves to shine, and everyone deserves access to expert knowledge and medication. The Plus SideZ Podcast. You're not alone. It's not your fault.
Want the fastest working GLP-1? For half the price, Ro now offers FDA-approved weight loss injections cheaper, with results you can see faster. Lose 15% of your weight with the formula from Eli Lilly that hits not one, but 2 hormones to curb hunger and nausea. Weight loss faster, confidence higher, price cheaper. See if you qualify at ro.co/TV.